Let's talk about something that most people overlook but desperately need to master. The art of doing less to achieve more. There's an incredible power in restraint, in holding back, in choosing not to engage when every part of you wants to react. It's not weakness, it's strength. And let me tell you, the day I understood this, everything changed for me. I've been where many of you are right now, stuck in the endless cycle of reacting to everything and everyone. Someone disrespects you, and your first instinct is to clap back. A situation spirals out of control, and you rush to fix it. You try harder, say more, explain yourself again and again, hoping for validation or resolution. But what happens instead? You feel drained, frustrated, and unheard. I remember a moment in my life that hit me like a brick wall. I had poured my energy into proving myself to someone who just didn't respect me. I gave them explanations, tried to reason with them, even bent over backward to meet their unreasonable expectations. And you know what I got in return? Nothing but more of the same. One day, I stopped. I didn't argue, I didn't react. I simply let silence take its place. The effect was immediate. For the first time, they paused, they noticed, and eventually, they backed off. That's when I realized how powerful stillness could be. The truth is, the world conditions us to think that louder is stronger. Speak up, fight back, hustle harder. But let me tell you, real strength is quiet. It's steady. It's the ability to hold your ground without shouting about it. It's stepping back, taking a deep breath, and letting the dust settle while you stay calm and clear. When you resist the urge to react, something incredible happens. You create space for reflection, for growth, and for clarity. In that space, people notice you in a different way. They start to respect the boundaries you set. They see the strength in your silence. It's not about playing games or trying to manipulate anyone. It's about showing that your energy is valuable and not everyone gets to access it. This isn't about retreating or giving up. It's about regaining control. Control over your emotions, your responses, and ultimately, your life. When you stop reacting to every little thing, you start to feel lighter. You're no longer carrying the weight of other people's opinions or negativity. You're free to focus on what truly matters. I want you to know that stepping back doesn't mean losing. It means choosing your battles wisely. It means prioritizing your peace over the need to prove a point. And it means living in a way that reflects your inner strength, not your ego. That's what I want to share with you today. The power to reclaim your time, your energy, and your respect through calmness and silence. Trust me, it's a game changer. Let's get started. Let's talk about something that most people overlook but desperately need to master. The art of doing less to achieve more. There's an incredible power in restraint, in holding back, in choosing not to engage when every part of you wants to react. It's not weakness, it's strength. And let me tell you, the day I understood this, everything changed for me. I've been where many of you are right now, stuck in the endless cycle of reacting to everything and everyone. Someone disrespects you, and your first instinct is to clap back. A situation spirals out of control, and you rush to fix it. You try harder, say more, explain yourself again and again, hoping for validation or resolution. But what happens instead? You feel drained, frustrated, and unheard. I remember a moment in my life that hit me like a brick wall. I had poured my energy into proving myself to someone who just didn't respect me. I gave them explanations, tried to reason with them, even bent over backward to meet their unreasonable expectations. And you know what I got in return? Nothing but more of the same. One day, I stopped. I didn't argue, I didn't react. I simply let silence take its place. The effect was immediate. For the first time, they paused, they noticed, and eventually they backed off. That's when I realized how powerful stillness could be. The truth is, the world conditions us to think that louder is stronger. Speak up, fight back, hustle harder. But let me tell you, real strength is quiet. It's steady. It's the ability to hold your ground without shouting about it. It's stepping back, taking a deep breath, and letting the dust settle while you stay calm and clear. When you resist the urge to react, something incredible happens. You create space for reflection, for growth, and for clarity. In that space, people notice you in a different way. They start to respect the boundaries you set. They see the strength in your silence. It's not about playing games or trying to manipulate anyone. It's about showing that your energy is valuable and not everyone gets to access it. This isn't about retreating or giving up. It's about regaining control over your emotions, your responses, and ultimately, your life. When you stop reacting to every little thing, you start to feel lighter. You're no longer carrying the weight of other people's opinions or negativity. You're free to focus on what truly matters. I want you to know that stepping back doesn't mean losing. It means choosing your battles wisely. It means prioritizing your peace over the need to prove a point. And it means living in a way that reflects your inner strength, not your ego. That's what I want to share with you today. The power to reclaim your time, your energy, and your respect through calmness and silence. Trust me, it's a game changer. Let's get started. There's an incredible clarity that comes when you choose silence in a heated moment. I'll never forget the first time I deliberately practiced this. Someone close to me was pushing every button, trying to provoke me into an argument. My instinct was to fire back, to defend myself, to win. But instead I stopped. I let the words hang in the air, let the noise fade into the background, and chose stillness. It wasn't easy. My mind screamed at me to respond. But in that silence I realized something profound. Their words lost their power. They were expecting a fight, but all they got was calm. And that calm, it shifted everything. When you don't react, you show people that their attempts to control or unsettle you are futile. It's not about ignoring the situation, it's about refusing to give away your power. In moments of silence, you are the one in control, not them. This doesn't just disarm conflict, it earns respect. People start to see you as someone who isn't easily shaken, someone who carries themselves with strength and composure. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is that silence speaks louder than words in moments of tension. It forces people to sit with their own behavior. When someone yells or criticizes, they're often expecting you to react, to meet their energy. But when you don't, when you remain steady and composed, it creates an uncomfortable reflection for them. They're left to face their own chaos while you remain calm. This shift in dynamic can be powerful because it subtly communicates that you're above the noise. I've seen this play out in professional settings too. There was a time when a colleague publicly criticized my work during a meeting. The old me would have jumped in defensively, trying to explain or justify myself. But instead I stayed silent. I nodded, gave them the floor, and waited. That silence did something remarkable. It made them uncomfortable. It became clear to everyone in the room that their outburst wasn't about me, it was about them. Without saying a word, I had shifted the energy. After the meeting, people came up to me, commending my composure. That's the power of silent strength. It doesn't just protect your dignity, it earns you admiration. One of the hardest parts of mastering non-reaction is resisting the ego. Our ego tells us we need to prove something, to defend ourselves, to make sure we're heard. But here's the truth. The strongest person in the room isn't the one shouting the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to shout at all. When you practice non-reaction, you're not suppressing your emotions, you're channeling them. You're choosing to act from a place of wisdom, not impulse. This is where Stoic principles come into play. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events can't harm you unless you let them. The real battle isn't out there, it's within you. When someone tries to provoke you, they're offering you a choice. Will you give them power over your emotions, or will you remain in control? Choosing silence is choosing strength. It's telling yourself, I won't let their chaos become mine. One thing I've found helpful is to focus on my breathing in those moments. When someone says or does something that would normally trigger me, I take a deep breath and count silently in my head. This small act creates a buffer between the event and my response. It gives me the space to decide how I want to show up. And showing up with calm, composed energy isn't just about maintaining control, it's about setting an example. People notice when you handle yourself with grace under pressure. There's another layer to this too. Silence can be a form of strength for others. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary conflict, you create a space where real conversations can happen. I've seen this in personal relationships. Sometimes when someone close to me is upset, their initial reaction is to lash out. If I were to react in kind, it would escalate the tension. But when I choose silence, when I give them the room to express themselves without interruption, it often diffuses the situation. In that silence, they feel heard, and the need for conflict fades. Non-reaction isn't about ignoring problems, it's about addressing them from a place of stability. When you're calm, you're better equipped to find solutions. You're not clouded by anger or frustration, which means your responses are more thoughtful and effective. This approach doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you wiser. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful tools you have. It communicates confidence, control, and a deep understanding of yourself. When you don't react, you're saying, I'm not afraid of your words. I don't need to defend myself to feel validated. I know my worth. And that kind of energy, it's magnetic. It draws people in and makes them take notice. The world will always test your patience. It will throw situations at you that challenge your ability to remain calm. But every time you choose non-reaction, you're strengthening a muscle that few people ever bother to develop. You're building a reputation as someone who can't be rattled, someone who operates on a higher level. And that kind of strength doesn't just earn respect, it commands it. I've seen firsthand how powerful this can be. I've watched as people who once doubted or disrespected me started to treat me differently, not because I fought for their respect, but because I stopped fighting at all. I let my silence do the work, and it spoke volumes. You can do the same. All it takes is a decision to step back, take a breath, and hold your ground. That's where true strength lies, and that's how you start to command the respect you deserve. When you embrace the power of silence and non-reaction, something extraordinary starts to happen. You regain control. But here's the next step in mastering this practice: the pause. Pausing doesn't just mean stopping in the heat of the moment. It's deeper than that. It's about creating a space where clarity can emerge, where emotions settle, and where the right path forward becomes clear. I've learned that the pause is where transformation truly begins. It's not just about avoiding rash decisions, it's about making choices that reflect the person you want to be. The power of the pause lies in its ability to interrupt the cycle of impulsive reactions. Have you ever noticed how quickly we jump from an event to an emotion, then straight into a response? It happens almost without thinking. Someone criticizes you, and before you know it, you're snapping back. A plan falls apart, and frustration takes over. But when you pause, you step outside that automatic cycle. You take a moment to breathe, to observe what's happening, and to choose your response intentionally. That space changes everything. It's like stepping out of a storm into a quiet room where you can finally hear yourself think. For me, mastering the pause started with one simple technique: asking myself, what's really happening here? The first time I tried this, it felt awkward. I was in a conversation where someone's words hit a nerve, and I could feel anger bubbling up. But instead of letting it spill out, I stopped. I asked myself that question: what was really happening? Were their words a reflection of me or of their own frustrations? That pause gave me a moment to separate my emotions from their actions. It allowed me to see the situation clearly and respond with thoughtfulness instead of defensiveness. And the more I practiced this, the more natural it became. Pausing also gives you the chance to consider the bigger picture. Often, in the heat of the moment, we focus on the immediate problem. We want to fix it, win the argument, or prove a point. But what if we pause to ask ourselves, what's the long-term impact of my reaction? This question has saved me countless times. I remember a heated email exchange where my instinct was to fire back with a sharp response. Instead, I paused. I thought about the relationship I wanted to maintain and the reputation I wanted to uphold. That pause helped me craft a reply that addressed the issue without escalating the conflict. And in the end, it strengthened the relationship rather than damaging it. One of the most profound aspects of pausing is how it opens the door to understanding your emotions. When you pause, you're not suppressing your feelings, you're giving them room to breathe. Instead of being overwhelmed by anger, fear, or frustration, you can observe them. You can ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What triggered this emotion? This kind of self-awareness is incredibly powerful. It helps you understand yourself better and allows you to respond in ways that align with your values rather than your impulses. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events are neutral. It's our perception of them that causes distress. Pausing allows you to challenge those perceptions. When something upsetting happens, the pause gives you a chance to ask, is this as bad as it seems? Is this worth my peace of mind? This practice has been a game changer for me. It's taught me that most of the things that upset us aren't worth the energy we give them. Pausing isn't just for moments of conflict or challenge. It's also a tool for decision-making. When faced with a choice, we often rush to decide, driven by pressure or the fear of missing out. But the best decisions come from a place of calm and clarity, not urgency. Taking a pause allows you to weigh your options, consider the consequences, and make a choice that feels right. I've started incorporating this into my daily life. Whether it's deciding how to spend my time or how to approach a difficult conversation, I've found that pausing leads to better outcomes every time. Another incredible benefit of pausing is how it shifts your focus from reacting to understanding. When you pause, you give yourself the chance to truly listen to yourself and to others. In a heated discussion, for example, pausing lets you hear what the other person is really saying, not just how it makes you feel. This kind of active listening can transform relationships. It shows the other person that you value their perspective, even if you don't agree, and it gives you the information you need to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. Practicing the art of pausing also creates a sense of inner peace. When you're not constantly reacting to everything around you, life feels less chaotic. You realize that not every situation demands your immediate attention or response. This sense of peace isn't just beneficial for you, it's noticeable to others. People start to see you as someone who is calm, composed, and in control. And that kind of presence commands respect. In my experience, pausing has also helped me become more compassionate. When you pause before reacting, You have the chance to consider what the other person might be going through. You start to see their actions in context rather than taking them personally. This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does mean responding with understanding rather than anger. I've found that this approach not only diffuses tension, but also builds stronger connections. One of the challenges of mastering the pause is resisting the urge to fill the silence. We're so conditioned to think that silence is awkward or uncomfortable that we rush to fill it with words. But silence is where clarity lives. It's in that quiet space that you can hear your own thoughts, understand your emotions, and find the best path forward. Learning to embrace silence has been one of the most freeing experiences of my life. The practice of pausing isn't about perfection. There will be times when you react impulsively, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep coming back to the practice. Every time you pause, you're strengthening your ability to stay calm and clear in any situation. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Pausing has changed the way I navigate the world. It's given me the ability to approach challenges with a sense of calm, to make decisions with clarity, and to interact with others from a place of understanding rather than defensiveness. It's not just a skill, it's a way of life. And the more I practice it, the more I see its transformative power. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that pausing isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about creating space for the best version of yourself to emerge. And that version of you, it's stronger, wiser, and more capable than you might realize. When you master the art of pausing, something profound begins to happen. You start to notice what others miss. Pausing opens the door to a powerful practice, observation. This is where real understanding takes root. It's not just about hearing what people say or seeing what they do. It's about catching the subtleties, the unspoken dynamics, the intentions behind their actions. I've come to realize that the less I react and the more I observe, the more influence I gain. This isn't about manipulating others or being passive. It's about equipping yourself with the insight to act deliberately when the moment is right. The ability to observe silently is like holding a mirror to the world. When you stay quiet, people reveal themselves. They show you who they are, what they value, and even what they fear. In conversations, I've learned that when I stop trying to control the dialogue and instead just listen, people fill the silence with their truth. Sometimes they share things they didn't mean to. Sometimes they give you insight into their mindset without realizing it. Silence creates a space where you can see the bigger picture, something you can't achieve if you're constantly reacting or trying to assert yourself. Observing without reacting also gives you a kind of emotional armor. When you're not rushing to defend yourself or prove a point, you're free to truly see what's happening around you. I've been in situations where someone's words felt like an attack, but instead of jumping in, I chose to stay quiet and watch. What I noticed was that their frustration wasn't about me at all. It was about something they were dealing with internally. That realization shifted my perspective entirely. Instead of feeling defensive, I felt calm and understanding, and my response was far more effective as a result. Observation also allows you to see patterns. People are more predictable than we often realize, but you can only see that when you're paying attention. I've found that in both personal and professional relationships, patterns reveal everything. Someone might always deflect blame in a conflict, or they might have a habit of seeking validation in every interaction. By silently observing these tendencies, you equip yourself with the knowledge to respond wisely. You learn when to engage, when to step back, and how to address issues in a way that gets through to the other person. One of the most valuable things I've learned through observation is the importance of timing. There are moments when speaking up is necessary, but not every moment is the right one. Observing the dynamics of a situation helps you pick the perfect time to act. I remember being in a meeting where tensions were running high. Everyone was talking over each other, trying to make their point heard. I stayed silent, watching the energy in the room. I waited until the noise settled and then calmly shared my perspective. Because I had observed the flow of the conversation, my words landed with impact. The silence before I spoke gave my words weight. Observation also teaches you the power of humility. When you stop reacting and start paying attention, you realize how much there is to learn. You begin to see that your initial assumptions about people or situations are often incomplete. This has been a humbling and empowering realization for me. It's taught me to approach every interaction with curiosity instead of judgment. When you observe without jumping to conclusions, you open yourself to understanding people on a deeper level. And when people feel understood, they naturally respect you more. There's a saying that actions speak louder than words, and I found this to be profoundly true. By observing what people do rather than focusing solely on what they say, you gain a clearer picture of their character. Words can be polished and rehearsed, but actions reveal intent. I've seen this play out countless times. Someone might talk about how committed they are to a goal, but their behavior tells a different story. Observation allows you to spot these inconsistencies and act accordingly. In my experience, silent observation is also a form of self-protection. Not every situation or person deserves your energy, and observation helps you discern where to invest your attention. When you take the time to watch and assess, you're less likely to get drawn into unnecessary drama or conflict. This practice has saved me from countless situations that could have drained my time and emotional energy. By simply stepping back and observing, I've been able to avoid arguments that would have gone nowhere and relationships that weren't built on mutual respect. Another incredible benefit of observing is that it strengthens your intuition. The more you watch and listen, the better you become at picking up on subtle cues. You start to notice the slight changes in someone's tone, the hesitation in their words, or the way their body language shifts. These small details can reveal so much about what's really going on beneath the surface. I've found that this kind of intuitive awareness not only helps me navigate tricky situations, but also makes me a better communicator. When you understand what someone truly needs or feels, you can respond in a way that resonates with them. Observation is also a powerful tool for growth. When you're constantly reacting, you're too focused on the external to reflect on yourself. But when you step back and observe, you create space to see your own patterns and tendencies. I've noticed that some of my strongest insights about myself have come from moments of quiet reflection. Watching how I respond to certain triggers or how my energy shifts in different situations has helped me identify areas for improvement. This kind of self-awareness is invaluable. It allows you to grow in ways that wouldn't be possible if you were always caught up in the noise. Through observation, I've also learned the value of patience. Not everything requires an immediate response, and not every problem needs to be solved right away. By staying silent and watching, you often find that situations resolve themselves. This doesn't mean being passive. It means understanding that action is most effective when it's deliberate. There's a calm confidence that comes from knowing you don't have to react to every little thing. It's a mindset that not only reduces stress, but also enhances your ability to influence others. The less you react, the more control you have, not just over your emotions, but over how others perceive you. People notice when you're the one in the room who doesn't jump to conclusions or get rattled easily. They begin to see you as someone who is thoughtful, composed, and wise. And that kind of presence commands respect. I've experienced this shift firsthand. By observing more and reacting less, I've been able to build stronger relationships and earn the trust of those around me. Observation is not about detachment or apathy. It's about engagement on a deeper level. It's about being fully present in the moment without letting it control you. It's about seeing the truth of a situation so clearly that your actions become precise and effective. This practice has transformed the way I approach life. It's taught me that silence is not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of wisdom. And when you carry that wisdom with you, you become a person of influence without ever having to demand it. When you master the art of silent observation, something profound happens. You begin to see how much unnecessary chaos surrounds us. In those moments, the real challenge is not just to observe, but to remain a source of calm within the storm. The world has a way of throwing turbulence your way, whether it's through conflicts, unexpected setbacks, or even just the noise of daily life. But I've learned this: the person who can stay composed in the face of chaos becomes a lighthouse for others. It's not just about managing yourself. It's about becoming the steady presence that people instinctively turn to for guidance and reassurance. I can't count how many times I've seen panic sweep through a room during a difficult situation. When emotions run high, people often react without thinking, shouting over each other, jumping to conclusions, or making rash decisions. Early in my career, I used to get swept up in that current. I'd match the energy of those around me, trying to solve everything as quickly as possible. But over time, I realized that reacting impulsively rarely leads to the best outcomes. Instead, I began to practice stillness. I started pausing, letting the chaos unfold around me, while I stayed rooted in calmness. And you know what happened? People began to notice. They'd look to me for direction, not because I was the loudest, but because I was the calmest. Calmness is magnetic. It draws people in because in a chaotic world, stillness is a rare and valuable quality. When you're calm, you create a sense of safety for those around you. This doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem or pretending everything is fine. It means you're showing others that it's possible to face difficulty without losing control. I've seen this play out in meetings, family disagreements, and even personal crises. When I stay composed, it sets the tone for everyone else. They stop panicking, and suddenly the chaos feels manageable. It's not about being perfect, it's about choosing stability over reaction. One of the keys to maintaining calmness in turmoil is learning to separate what's within your control from what isn't. This is a cornerstone of Stoicism and something I remind myself of constantly. When a situation spirals, the first thing I do is ask, what can I actually influence here? Most of the time, the answer is limited to my own mindset and actions. By focusing only on what I can control, I let go of the anxiety that comes from trying to fix things that are beyond me. This shift not only keeps me grounded, but also shows others that clarity comes from accepting reality rather than resisting it. Being a beacon of stability also requires mastering your emotions. It's not that you don't feel fear, anger, or frustration. It's that you don't let those emotions dictate your actions. I've found that naming my emotions helps. When I feel tension rising, I pause and silently identify what I'm feeling. Am I nervous, frustrated, overwhelmed? Once I name it, the emotion feels less overwhelming, and I can focus on what needs to be done. This simple practice has helped me stay centered in moments where I might have otherwise unraveled. Calmness in chaos isn't just about how you handle crises, it's also about how you prepare for them. I've learned that cultivating inner stillness is an ongoing practice. It starts with small habits, like mindfulness, reflection, and intentional breathing, that build resilience over time. When you practice calmness in everyday situations, it becomes second nature in more significant moments. I've noticed that when I start my day with quiet reflection, I'm much better equipped to handle whatever challenges come my way. It's not about avoiding stress. It's about strengthening your ability to meet it with poise. There's also a certain confidence that comes from staying calm, and people sense it. When you're steady in a storm, it signals to others that you have things under control, even if the situation is uncertain. This doesn't mean pretending to have all the answers. It's about showing that you trust yourself to figure things out as they unfold. I've been in situations where I didn't know the solution, but by staying calm and asking thoughtful questions, I was able to guide the team toward clarity. Confidence isn't about having certainty, it's about being comfortable in uncertainty. Another aspect of being calm in chaos is understanding the importance of silence. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply hold space for others. I've been in arguments where I chose not to respond right away, letting the other person vent their emotions without interruption. That silence didn't mean I was ignoring them. It meant I was listening deeply and giving them the space they needed to express themselves. This approach often diffuses tension because people feel heard, and once the emotional wave passes, they're more open to collaboration. Calmness is also contagious. When you maintain your composure, it encourages others to do the same. I've seen this happen during family emergencies, where my decision to stay calm helped others find their footing. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about creating an environment where solutions can emerge. People instinctively look to those who exude stability, especially in times of uncertainty. It's a responsibility, but it's also a privilege to be the person who brings clarity and direction when others feel lost. I've also learned that staying calm isn't about suppressing yourself or pretending to be unaffected. It's about aligning your actions with your values. In moments of chaos, I ask myself, what kind of person do I want to be in this situation? That question anchors me. It reminds me that my response should reflect my character, not the chaos around me. This perspective helps me stay grounded, even when things feel overwhelming. Maintaining inner stillness also requires letting go of the need to control everything. Chaos can feel threatening because it disrupts our sense of order. But I've realized that trying to control every detail only adds to the tension. Instead, I focus on adapting to the flow of the situation. This doesn't mean being passive, it means being flexible and resourceful. When you stop fighting the chaos and start working with it, you find opportunities that weren't visible before. Ultimately, being a beacon of stability is about creating a sense of trust. When people see that you can stay calm under pressure, they trust your ability to lead and make decisions. This trust isn't something you demand, it's something you earn through consistent action. It's about showing, not telling, that you are someone they can rely on. I've found that this kind of trust often leads to deeper connections and stronger relationships, both personally and professionally. Staying calm in chaos has transformed the way I approach life. It's not about pretending everything is okay or ignoring challenges. It's about showing up with a steady presence that inspires confidence in yourself and others. The world may always be noisy, unpredictable, and chaotic, but you have the power to choose how you respond. When you choose calmness, you become a source of strength, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. That is the real power of stillness, and it's a skill worth cultivating every single day. When you embrace calmness in chaos, something profound becomes clear. Sometimes it's not about what you say or do, but about the silence you offer. There's a power in holding back words, in stepping away from the need to respond immediately. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of understanding. I've learned that some of the most meaningful connections and breakthroughs don't come from speaking. They come from listening. and not just listening with the intent to reply, but with the intent to truly understand. Listening is an art that many overlook because it requires patience and humility. In a world that celebrates quick responses and strong opinions, listening can feel passive. But let me tell you, it's anything but. I've seen relationships transform, conflicts dissolve, and respect deepen, all because I chose to listen instead of react. There's something powerful about giving someone your full attention without interrupting, judging, or planning your next words. That kind of listening creates space for others to feel seen and heard, and in that space, trust grows. One of the hardest lessons I've learned about listening is that it's not about me. Early on, I thought being a good listener meant offering advice or solving the problem as quickly as possible. But what I've come to realize is that most people don't want solutions, they want understanding. When someone comes to you with their struggles or frustrations, they're not always looking for you to fix it. They're looking for someone to acknowledge their feelings, to say through your actions, "I hear you and you matter." Listening without the need to fix has been one of the most freeing and impactful changes I've made in how I connect with others. When I started practicing active listening, I noticed something surprising. People began to open up more. It's as if my silence signaled to them that it was safe to share, that I wasn't waiting to pounce with my own perspective or agenda. I would nod, maintain eye contact, and sometimes repeat back what they'd said to show I was truly paying attention. These small actions made a world of difference. People felt valued, and because they felt valued, they began to value me more in return. Respect, I realized, is often born in the moments when we set aside our ego and simply listen. Listening also reveals truths that aren't always obvious. When you focus entirely on understanding someone, you pick up on things you might have missed otherwise, their tone, their pauses, the emotions behind their words. These subtle cues often tell you more than the words themselves. I've had moments where someone's words said one thing, but their voice or body language told a different story. By listening deeply, I was able to address what they truly needed, not just what they said on the surface. This kind of insight isn't possible if you're too focused on preparing your response instead of paying attention. I've also learned that silence while listening can be one of the most powerful tools for connection. When you allow a pause in a conversation, it invites the other person to share more. People often fill silence with their most honest thoughts, the ones they weren't sure they wanted to say. I've experienced this countless times, especially during difficult conversations. Instead of jumping in to fill the void, I'd let the silence linger just a little longer. Inevitably, the other person would continue, and what they said next was often the heart of the issue. Silence, I've found, isn't empty. It's full of possibilities. Another lesson that stuck with me is that listening requires putting your assumptions aside. It's easy to think you know where someone is coming from or what they're about to say, but those assumptions can close you off from truly hearing them. I've caught myself finishing someone's sentences in my head or jumping to conclusions about their point, and every time I've missed something important. Active listening means staying curious. It means approaching every conversation with the mindset that there's something valuable to learn, even if you think you already know the answer. Practicing Stoic listening has also taught me patience. There have been times when I've wanted to cut someone off, to rush them to the point, or to correct what I thought was a misunderstanding. But holding back, letting them finish, and giving them space to express themselves fully has always led to better outcomes. Patience in listening isn't just about respecting the other person. It's about allowing the conversation to unfold naturally. It's about trusting that understanding will come, even if it takes a little longer. Listening with grace also means accepting that you don't always have to agree to understand. There have been moments where I completely disagreed with what someone was saying, but by listening without judgment, I was able to see their perspective more clearly. This doesn't mean compromising your own values. It means respecting someone else's right to have their own. I've found that when you listen without immediately trying to convince or argue, people become more open to hearing your point of view as well. One of the unexpected benefits of listening deeply is how much it teaches you about yourself. When you're fully present with someone else, your own thoughts and reactions become clearer. I've noticed patterns in how I respond, the things that trigger me, and the ways I tend to insert my own experiences into conversations. This self-awareness has been invaluable. It's helped me recognize when I'm truly listening and when I'm just waiting for my turn to speak. The more I practice, the more I've been able to quiet that inner voice and focus entirely on the person in front of me. Another thing I've discovered is that listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about being present. You can't truly listen if your mind is elsewhere, distracted by your phone, or thinking about what you're going to say next. Presence requires effort, but it's worth it. When you give someone your undivided attention, it creates a connection that's hard to replicate. I've had people tell me that they felt genuinely heard for the first time in a long time, simply because I was present with them. Listening also builds trust. When people see that you're not just hearing them, but truly understanding them, they begin to trust you more. This trust doesn't happen overnight, but it's one of the most rewarding outcomes of practicing active listening. I've seen it in my own relationships, both personal and professional. The more I listen, the more people feel comfortable coming to me, knowing that I'll respect their thoughts and feelings. There's a humility in listening that aligns perfectly with Stoic principles. It's a reminder that the world isn't all about you, that everyone has their own experiences, struggles, and perspectives. By listening, you're acknowledging that. You're stepping out of your own head and into someone else's world, even if just for a moment. That kind of empathy doesn't just strengthen relationships, it makes you a better person. The power of listening is something I continue to learn and practice every day. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each time I choose to listen with grace instead of rushing to speak, I'm reminded of how transformative it can be. It's a simple act, but its impact is profound. Listening isn't just a skill, it's a gift. One that builds connections, inspires respect, and creates a sense of understanding in a world that desperately needs it. When you take a step back, hold your silence, and master the art of stillness, you're not just changing how you respond, you're transforming how the world perceives you. We've explored how non-reaction commands respect, how pausing leads to clarity, how silent observation grants you deeper understanding, how staying calm in chaos makes you a beacon of stability, and how listening with grace builds unshakable trust and connection. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're tools you can carry with you every single day. The beauty of this practice is its simplicity. It doesn't require you to prove yourself or change anyone else. It starts within you, choosing stillness, listening more, and speaking less. And when you do, something incredible happens. People notice. They see the strength in your calm, the wisdom in your restraint, and the power in your presence. They start seeking you out, not because you're loud, but because your silence speaks louder than words ever could. I want to hear from you now. What part of this journey resonated with you the most? Maybe it was learning the power of observation, or how silence creates space for understanding. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how you're planning to apply these lessons in your own life. Your perspective matters, and your experience could inspire someone else here. And if you found value in this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel This is just the beginning of so many powerful conversations we'll have together. Let's keep growing, learning, and mastering ourselves as we navigate this noisy world with the quiet strength of Stoicism. Stay calm, stay grounded, and let your actions speak for themselves. See you next time.